Big news just coming in. Prime Minister Modi hints at extending nationwide lockdown. Prime Minister says he will discuss the issue with chief ministers on the 11th of April. Now, we were just telling you as to how an all-important video conferencing meeting will take place between the Prime Minister and Chief Ministers of all states, and that is when this issue will be discussed. The Prime Minister Modi, in fact, chaired today an all-party meeting, and the decision on extending lockdown will be taken on the 11th of April after consultation of the Chief Ministers of states. So there you have it. An extension of lockdown is very much on the cards, and to this effect, you've had several suggestions coming in from states like Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and even Telangana as to how we are sitting at a very crucial juncture, and it is very important for us to really expect and mull for an extension of the nationwide lockdown. So to that effect, we might as well see a decision that will be taken on the 11th of April when the Prime Minister will meet Chief Ministers of all states via video conferencing. For more on this, I'm being joined in by my colleague Ashish, live from the newsroom. Ashish, several suggestions have been made to this effect as to how the existing lockdown must be extended, not just from Rajasthan. You had a suggestion from Telangana as well, and even Maharashtra Chief Minister speaking about how the lockdown must be lifted in a tapered manner. So this meeting that will be taking place between the Prime Minister and the Chief Ministers of states on the 11th of April sounds to be quite important looking forward, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely, Adarsh. That is when possibly the lockdown, the decision on whether extension of lockdown is required or not will be taken by the Prime Minister. Because clearly, remember, one thing that became very clear from the all-party meet today was that people, leaders cutting across party lines want the extension of lockdown, because everyone is of the opinion that you had the lockdown for 21 days. You probably will have it for the 21 days. But in case this is relaxed, then, people would again start coming onto the streets. People would actually start going to the supermarkets. You'd have thousands and lakhs of vehicles coming onto the streets. So that would again undo everything that had been done during the 21 day. So now that we are already in a lockdown phase, why not just end it when the virus itself ends? So that is the thinking that a lot of leaders in the all-party meet today had, because they clearly said that any sort of relaxation would mean that again we would actually give a room for the virus to spread. We would actually people would actually start roaming around, and then again the virus would start spreading. That is the common consensus that everyone had. And the Prime Minister too seemed to agree. Now he's gone on to say that he probably thinks the lockdown should be extended, and that he would try and persuade the Chief Ministers to ensure that the nationwide lockdown carries on. What exactly would be the obstacle here is that not every state in India is badly hit by COVID-19. You have a few states which are very badly hit. You have a few states that are, suffering from it. And then again, you have a few states that, sparsely have a couple of cases. So all of this situation, when you talk about a nationwide lockdown, all of the states will have to go under lockdown. So how will the Prime Minister convince Chief Ministers of states where COVID-19 is not that serious? How will he convince those Chief Ministers to actually go forward and also take part in the lockdown? That remains to be seen. That is why the Prime Minister himself has said that I will try to persuade the Chief Ministers. He has not gone on completely saying that he will be announcing the nationwide lockdown, because clearly everyone will have to be taken into confidence. Everyone will have to be explained that, see, look, we have a border, all the borders are sealed, of course, and the fact that your state does not have too many COVID-19 cases does not mean that you will not have it. Just because the borders are sealed does not mean that your state is safe. There are thousands of people even in those states who are under quarantine. Their results are awaited. In case those results come out to be positive and at the same time there is no lockdown, just imagine the sort of situation we would be getting into. It would be absolutely disastrous, not just for that state but for the entire country. So that is the mindset that the Prime Minister probably has at the moment, and that is why he's also going to persuade Chief Ministers of states which do not really have, which aren't really affected very badly by COVID-19. So that will be the talking point of the meeting between Prime Minister and Chief Ministers. He will be persuading them to make sure that a nationwide lockdown is extended. That is what he's hinted at, because clearly, remember, like I've been telling you constantly, Chief Ministers of the states which are badly hit by the COVID-19 are already requesting the Prime Minister to extend the lockdown. But there are some Chief Ministers who are probably having second thoughts, because their states are not that badly hit by COVID-19. So why should they be taking part in the nationwide lockdown, though the borders are sealed and their state is completely protected? So that is the sort of discussion that the Prime Minister would be having. He would be trying to get a common ground. even if there is no complete relaxation, there might be a possibility of a staggered relaxation wherein you have one by one other sectors, one by one sectors will be relaxed, one by one services will be started till the entire, till there is a complete relaxation of the lockdown, till there is a complete confidence that, okay, COVID-19 situation is something that we've dealt with successfully. Now let us completely relax all the restrictions that have put forward. But having said that, again, there will be a lot of people questioning this, because if you have a lockdown, you're supposed to have a complete lockdown. If not, if you have a partial lockdown, how does it even serve a purpose? Because you again have people traveling around, you again have some of the other service which is on. Again, that would somehow proliferate the number of cases, that would somehow provide a leeway for the virus to spread, provide an avenue for the virus to spread further. So that is the sort of discussion, debate that is expected at that meeting. So what exactly happens remains to be seen. Only on April 11th will we find out. Most probably will we find out whether the lockdown will be extended or not. But clearly, Prime Minister Modi has made his intentions very clear at the moment, Adarsh.
Many thanks, Ashish, for joining us with those details. There you have it. Indications now very clear as to how we may as well be looking at an extension of the lockdown, and this is, of course, in the greater interest. But another question that obviously arises is as to how prepared are various states for an extension of the lockdown. While it is the need of the hour on the ground to ensure that the spread of COVID-19 is curtailed, a few questions, however, arise. Well, obviously, it remains to be seen as to what kind of a suggestion will be taken by Prime Minister Modi, whether the lockdown, in a sense, will be lifted on the 14th of April, but in a tapered manner. That is, again, one suggestion that has been given, or whether there will be an all-out extension. Now, again, as my colleague Ashish was also talking about how a few states have not been badly hit by COVID-19, so whether those states will be left out of the ambit. Well, not too long ago, you had the Chief Minister of Telangana, K. Chandrasekhar Rao himself, suggesting to the Prime Minister that the lockdown that is in place must be extended at least by a couple of weeks. This, of course, in the greater interest of the people of India. So, yes, a few suggestions, and the Prime Minister would be in conversation with the Chief Ministers of all states on the 11th of April, which is when a final decision on when to lift the lockdown will be taken, the extension for how long, and how exactly the nitty-gritties, the technicalities of the ways in which the lockdown will be lifted will feature in this all-important discussion. So post that, you will have a formal announcement being made, but on the other hand, you already have states preparing for the same. Opposition leaders claim lockdown will not be lifted on the 14th of April. Prime Minister Modi has asked if all states are prepared to extend the lockdown. Opposition leaders claim lockdown will not be lifted on the 14th of April. So you have murmurs already doing the rounds as to how the opposition has come out in the open and has asserted that no, the lockdown will not be lifted on the 14th of April.